we should be up.
Welcome to the Clutch Kick. Once again, I think this is episode 61. I think I counted back.
Really? You're tragic, mate.
Yeah. I know. So I am one of your hosts, ET, and somewhere on the screen is Greg Merriman, and
just to your right and above.
To my whatever. Anyway, and also for our, well, I don't know, it's our special guest, but it could be like a co-host, special co-host, because I have a feeling that we're going to get sidetracked this week, and that's why when we did the poster, we sort of didn't really focus on Matt, but yeah, I have a feeling that the discussion is mostly going to be about FD that happened last weekend. So anyway, we've got Matt Harvey on.
Thank you for having me.
I don't know if you haven't seen the title of the episode, have you? I put Matt Harvey, Tasmanian Drift Royalty.
Oh, Drift Royalty, Jesus! Wouldn't say that, mate. Come on.
Well, I'm not sure there's been much better, and you've been to King of Nations, so.
Brody Moore's been to Europe and stuff like that.
Yeah, but he's not around
retired
anymore. Yeah, he's not around anymore. So
he's building a car.
Yeah, but somebody's got to be on the throne, mate. So that's all you.
I'll take his place for now.
No, he's gonna have a hard time beating you when he comes back, especially once the other car's done.
Oh, you'd be surprised. That car's gonna be an amazing piece of machinery.
But isn't it a rotary?
I think he's gonna be scared to drive it. It's like a forever build type of car.
Yeah.
It's been in the build for such a long time. I've seen some like photos and videos, and so much work in that car.
Oh yeah, it's definitely an engineering piece of machinery. But yeah, no, I'm excited to see that done once it's actually done. But then again, he's taking his time doing it properly. He's not rushing it. So, like I said, it will be good once it's done, but it won't be for a long time, I guess.
Okay, so usually at the start of the show, we start off with a bit of news. So I think won't start off with FD stuff because that'll probably take a chunk, if not more. So what have you got for us, Greg?
So round 2 of Vic Drift was on the weekend. They ran the FD layout. I think they ran some slightly different clips to that event that was there a few weeks beforehand. I think they ran later clips in most of the places to try and sort of open it up for better tandem and sort of having to throw the car a little bit more. I think a little bit later entry and sort of later into the, I guess into turn 2. And so Dale Campaign smashed it in qualifying. I think Grip Shift Slide or one of those pages has sort of a series of photos, and Dale's just got the wing hard against the wall. I think I saw the Street Shark giving him a bit of attitude about not using enough angle, but the car was sort of right in the pocket along the wall. So he qualified number 1, and then had some disappointment through the event. But the event was won by Krista Jaeger, and then Cam Martin, who I don't know if you guys remember, the guy who showed up to Mount Gambier with the nice clean street 33, and then proceeded to write that thing off just in the name of fun, and then I think he had to drive it back to Victoria or something. So
oh god.
So that was good effort from him, but he's done a fair bit of stuff lately, and he drove up to Queensland and did the Adam Millsy event and stuff like that. So he has definitely been killing it.
Yeah. He's changed cars too, I think, because he had a different car at Mount Gambier.
He's had a silver 2-door back.
Yeah, then
when at Gambier.
Yeah, now
it's a 4-door.
He's a really good driver.
Yeah, super consistent. And then in third was Alexander Kanavarovsky. Speed Tech, he brought out for the first time his big build 2J S15, which was good to see that out. He did really well last round after he had some dramas in that car and ended up just driving his street 180 and did well and backed it up with a good result. this round in that car, and I think the plan is to get it cleaned up and over for the next round of SA Summer Series, which is on this weekend coming. There's been more videos sort of popping up from the layout, and some of the guys look like they were testing on Assetto Corsa. I don't know if you've got that track, Matt, because I know you're
I
a virtual drifter.
I do not, but yeah, I know a couple of guys that have been practicing for that layout. It's going to be a good event. You know, it's a very high entry with and then a fast flick back into like a hairpin. So it'd be nice. It would be good to see door-on-door action the whole way around. So I'm pretty keen to see that. Do you know if they're going to do a live stream at all, or they're just going to?
Nah, they're pretty quiet on that at the moment. Hopefully, with how well things are going this year, hopefully they get some more stuff going for the following season. I think from what I'm seeing on Facebook, and this is all speculation. I think, again, like round two, there's sort of late numbers coming in for the event. So hopefully they get some more a build up in numbers. Are you planning on trying to get to any of the rounds?
Well, that was the plan at the start of the year, but unfortunately, with car issues, and the boat is booked out till late July.
Jesus.
So
Wow.
yeah, we're lucky because obviously I've announced that I'm going to Darwin to do TETA, the State of Origin event. We were very lucky to actually get a ride over there. So yeah, it's booked out till July because all the campers come over, and there's not enough boats to get on and off. No.
Matty Wen said that they're trying to live stream this round, so fingers crossed that goes down. Because I don't know if you've taken much notice, but we mentioned it last week. Just the sort of professional little intro videos that they've been pushing out on Facebook and stuff like that. It's good to see, and there's more and more of that popping up from those guys. But yeah,
Big Drift and SA are doing probably the best promotion I've seen drifting for a while. You know, they're really stepping it up, and it's actually getting people more excited to go because there's going to be more spectators because obviously more promotion. So it's going to be a better event all around, and that's what drifting's been lacking in Australia a little bit, is promotion and actually people realizing, oh, there's an event on this weekend, let's actually go.
Yeah, rather than all of a sudden it just being a live stream popping up when the event's actually taking place, and that makes it a little bit harder for people to actually get to. But yeah, I agree. Those two series have been definitely kicking goals all season with their stuff, and yeah, even Vic Drift, I think they had well over 50 entrants again, and a lot of people missed out on qualifying. So just
They cap it at 50, don't they?
Yeah, something like that, and then only a top 32, so a lot of guys missing out. So they've got a lot of guys have got work to do to try and jump up, especially when you've got the invasion from the west coming across and doing it. I don't know if you guys caught much of that round. I saw some interesting things and some interesting calls, mostly based around one driver, but I'm not going to say too much. But one driver knocked out two South Australians, and then all of a sudden found a whole lot of car speed. So
Right.
some funny stuff happening on entries. So won't speculate too hard, but yeah, just some funky stuff, and hopefully the South Australian guys go back across there and do what they did at round one at round three. So yeah, fingers crossed for all those guys. Also over the weekend was Drift West, if I'm saying it right. Well, there's two series going on over there, right? So I just want to make sure I'm saying the right one. I get confused between the two.
Because there's Drift West and Drift All Stars, isn't there?
No, Drift
like
West
that.
and D1.
And D1 WA.
So yeah, Drift West Outlaws. I think that was on the weekend. But yeah, I forgot about it and didn't look at any results, and I'm trying to look at it now, but yeah, no idea. I was actually round two.
It's hard to find results because they do that battle system where they.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if there actually is a a round winner or like a championship sort of standings type of thing.
Yeah, currently they don't have much up, but yeah, they're actually a tire restricted series, but they go up to a 265 radial, which is cool. Um, but yeah, that was also over the weekend, and yeah, I think that was it so far. On the Tassie front, you guys had V8 supercars over the weekend, and I know you and your family were involved with that because Kumo sponsors one of the series, so you were tied up with that you know, while trying to watch FD and
Yeah,
stuff like that. But
yeah.
how was
Down
that?
for 4 o'clock in the morning. Yeah.
So when are they gonna add drift demos and you out there during the supercars?
Yeah, well, there was not much really support wise. Yeah, there would have been plenty of time for us to do drift demos and stuff like that. But not even like Stunk Inc. came down to do like, because they usually do like the burnouts and Harleys and Mingo with the drifting and stuff, but they didn't even come down. So yeah, it would have been. We've had drift demos in the past, but obviously V8 supercars and the other support categories go first, and TV. So you know what it's like. TV goes first before everything else. So we've had cars there before, but they've always cancelled it because they've been running late or something like that. So it was getting to the stage where we just weren't bothering anymore because there's no point going there unless we were going to get actual track time.
Yeah.
We spent money getting there, money, fuel, tires, spent a couple of grand to try and do these demos, and then you just sit there and do nothing.
Just drive out there anyway. It looked like there was a few cars trying to do front straight drifting anyway. I saw a couple of the V8 supercars do big offs coming up the last corner onto the front straight. And
just a what's the Silvestre?
Yeah, D Silvestre.
And then Miss Altima. Yeah, D Silvestre. She's lucky to keep off that wall, to be honest.
Yeah, I think she almost did like a full backward entry and then sort of brought it back somehow. So some scary stuff, but I think they needed to see you at top of fourth coming up the front straight, and then they would have known how to do it.
Well, another drifter that does sports GT, Brody Mayer, he was getting a bit sideways in his RX-7. Because RX-7 has no lock whatsoever standard. He was on 4 lock stops going over the hump, just trying to keep the car still. And just crazy. Like, they've got no locks whatsoever, so it's hard to drift those things. Trust me.
So you should just enter that next year, that category, and then just go out there and just blaze the whole track anyway.
I mean, I'm pretty tempted to do it. You don't have to talk to me much about it. But yeah, it's hard because there's some rules. I would love to do it, but there's some rules that they have fiberglass guards like out to a certain amount. So like S13 would be able to go in there. But yeah, it'd definitely be fun, putting a 400 kilowatt drift car in all these like 250 to 300 kilowatt cars to try and see like how fast it would actually be compared to like a sports GT.
And to see if you can keep tires on it for the whole race.
Yeah, it just goes 3 radials. They'll last.
So let's get on to FD a little bit. We will catch up with Matt because Matt's done lots of things in drifting, and last year was massive for him. The year before was massive for him. But
Yeah.
we're going to get him back on and try and chat about some of that stuff. But we figured while the topic's hot and relevant, we'd speak about FD because EG's an absolute lover of all things FD. And
Was it drag racing drifting? Is that what you call it?
No, it's Formula Burnout on the poster.
Burnout.
So you can tell he did the poster. And then me and Matt hate all things FD, so we won't have all that much to say about it. But I think, and I know EG sort of is irrelevant during this part of the conversation, but I feel like that's probably one of the best FD events that I've ever watched from top to bottom.
Yeah, the amount of drivers that stepped up over the year was it's crazy. It's you know, a 95 got you 8th place in qualifying. Like, when has that been since? Obviously, they've changed a little bit. They were saying they changed a little bit in the qualifying to try and make it a bit more technical, but they adapt pretty quickly to that change. And I didn't know. I think top 12 or top 15 was in the 90s. Like, it's crazy
Wow.
how much it's grown.
I think that's to do with the scoring system more
Bullshit.
than anything
No.
else.
Nah.
Because
Look,
they've gone
let's
to a
be.
sector system.
Nah. I knew that would be part of your argument that they will have dropped the scoring system to try and bring up drivers' scores, but nah, in no way, shape, or form do I feel like
It's not to bring the scores up. It's just the side effect of changing the system. Don't worry, I've done this before, so I've had a look at it and to see how things would affect. So the way you judge it, how it would actually affect the scores in the end. So you look at the same event, you do scores differently, or you do not the criteria, but like the way you define each criteria, and then so I think the way they did it then, you'll find higher and higher scores. I mean, they're less accurate. It could even be that they can get more accuracy when giving feedback because they do have those sectors, but those scores make the end score higher. So
yeah, I'm trying to look up results, so I wasn't listening to you.
Okay. So that's why I think it does look impressive. And also, you say that it looks impressive, people will be like, wow, these guys this year, they're all, scoring, all these guys in the top, whatever, are scoring, really high scores. So somehow the drivers have gotten better in the last year, but it's not really, sometimes the score doesn't reflect the quality, it just reflects the placing. So,
yeah, I sort of was like, I more mean just across the consistency of the field more than anything. Like, over the years, there've definitely been guys who have, shone through, and guys who have done, maybe even better runs than. I think Matt Field's #1 qualifying run was really strong, but there have been guys who have done better runs than, say, guys landing in 6th place and stuff like that. But just the fact that so many guys put down really strong runs the whole way through, most of the field, I think the guys who sort of just scraped through into the 32 struggled to put down strong laps, but sort of more of the field was putting down strong laps, and I think that sort of is an indicator for how this season's going to go. And with 8 rounds, it just wouldn't surprise me if it's 8 events are won by 8 different people. Where
I think this is too early. It's the new system. We'll see how it goes. This is the first round. See what happens in the next round, and I think we could. I think for me, I think that will be more of a clear indicator. It's good. Like the scoring will give it good consistency, and I like it. I think it's good, and I think it's good for the drivers to get feedback. Wish there was more information coming out to the spectators.
Yeah.
I don't know how easy that would be, but it'd be kind of cool. Like I would be interested. I don't know if someone else. I think people would be just like, give me the score. Just give me the score out of 100. I don't care. Yeah. But for me, I'd like to be able to. It'd be cool if I could sort of see those scores.
See what percentage of sectors they want to do. Yeah. Well, they touched that on a tiny little bit before. I think it was before the top 32 battle. They did a little section with Ryan Sage, obviously, and showed like a map of the track, and they did different sections of it. And showed, I think, so coming out, the touch and go wasn't really that much. I think it was about 5. But the 2 hour clips were both like a 7, 8, just to so they were the more judged sections out of the rest of them.
They heavily weighted that section.
Yeah, obviously. But I'm not. I don't know how I feel about people having like collapsible rear ends and just riding the wall and smashing the rear ends into the
Yeah,
cars.
I know.
Well, but I
I
feel like
saw
this
that
weekend
as
it
well.
wasn't,
That
but it wasn't rewarded, and I felt like that actually cost people in some battles. So like James Dean's qualifying run was more exciting than Matt Field's, but he put
Mm.
the rear end more than a bumper inside the wall. Like it caved it to like the lights, where Matt
Yeah.
Field was, a fingernail off the wall everywhere.
And
And
that's how it
Yeah.
should be, to be
yeah,
honest, 'cause that's more skill.
yeah,
You know.
and I think even Chelsea Denofa put up a bit of an interesting post today, and it was sort of, uh, let me see if I can quickly find it. It was on
Yeah, I
Instagram, and
didn't get that.
I tried to go back and read the comments to see if he had if he explained it in the comments, but then he disabled comments.
Oh,
So he put new judging criteria can put you at a disadvantage for initiating on the door side by side in comparison to bumper inline entry. What are your thoughts? And then I think he ended up changing it. So I couldn't tell if they were asking them now to sort of come in here and then try and flick in, where previously guys were here and then sort of cutting in to get on each other. But I went back and watched his battle, and I feel like the only reason, the main reason he lost was more in his lead run. He was at 90 degrees, but like almost to his rear wheels in the first sort of touch and go that wasn't even a zone,
yeah.
and then he sort of washed out and missed the next outer zone, well, which was actually a zone, not just a touch and go, and it sort of set him up for a bit of a rough run where his chase he jumped right up on door, and then he looked like I'd be interested to see his in car, but looked like he checked up a little bit and almost got scared out of staying at like backing it into the wall at the touch and go behind Forsberg. He sort of cut angle a little bit and didn't make it out as far, but he looked okay at the very start of the entry. And it's interesting that the picture that he's got up on Instagram, it's got they're running the actual ripple strip, where if you watch the guys who made it out to that touch and go, most of those guys were avoiding that whole first ripple strip. If you ran a nice
Yeah.
wide arc from that and didn't touch that ripple strip, you seemed to float out to that touch and go a whole
A
lot
lot.
a whole lot better.
Yeah, it depends how much speed you're carrying, obviously. I know there was a video of Dean Carney following James Dean where they touched going to turn two. And Dean was maybe a meter, if not more, off that ripple strip just to go around and hit that outer clip before, or touch and go before going to that outer clip. Like they were nowhere near it.
Yeah, and that's
I don't know. I don't know if that was like a judge rule where they said do not be on the inside clipping point, or
no,
or they just did not run it.
yeah, I think it was the only way to actually get wide enough and then not wash past the next outside zone. Because if those guys ran that slightly wider line on the entry and didn't have any wheels on that ripple strip on the inside of the first corner, they were able to transition earlier and then drive through that outside zone underneath the bridge rather than sort of touching the very end of the wall and then continuing through to the next section. So I think once guys realised that that was the stronger line, and once guys got more confident to enter that little bit later, because at that stage you're entering pretty bloody close to the massive wall of tyres. So
Yep.
uh,
Do a what's his name?
Kevin Lawrence.
Kevin Lawrence, yeah. That was a big hit.
Yeah, his was a big hit, but lucky I think he copped a fair bit of the tyres, and then Ryan Turk's front end into.
Oh,
I think he hit like just one or two layers of tyres, sort of coming into the third outside zone, but he had come through the first like main outside zone and lost power steering and just during practice and just went head on with the wall. And
was it a belt, or was it like that? Did you have electric power steering in that car?
so I know somebody who's spent some time with that team. I spoke to them last night, and they run a Lexus steering rack. But because they're sponsored by Toyota, that's they can get those parts. Because most of the time with WiseFab, I know from speaking to Brad too, you're supposed to run S chassis steering racks in them, unless
Yep.
you're running a full electric system, and they're running a Lexus steering rack, and they've had lots of problems with it supposedly.
Is
So
it still running a belt, or is it an actual electric power like a
I have a feeling the rack took a shit, like the actual rack itself,
what?
because it was it was a brand new rack and all that before this event, and yeah, I'm pretty sure from my understanding from speaking to this guy last night, it was a rack issue, not a pump or anything like that. So
That's fairly uncommon, to be honest. I've never really heard of a rack shooting itself, other than it being bent.
well, that's because we run S-chassis ones, and that's about all that happens to it.
Fair enough.
So
Yeah.
yeah, that was interesting. But yeah, it sounds like he copped some pretty serious bruising from the Hans device. But
Mm.
if you've ended up with bruises from a Hans device, I'm not sure what the damage to the neck would have been without a Hans device.
Oh, well, he said he went 45 miles an hour to 0.
Yeah.
So and he got a concussion from it. So
Yeah, he would have been 80k an hour, dead, like head on into the wall.
Yeah.
So,
he's fairly lucky those tyres were there, to be honest.
and he had a Hans device.
But he said that shell is written off now. He'd have to obviously get a new shell.
And the worst part about that is they were just commenting during during the media thing that we spoke about last week, that was the oldest, GT or FT 86 shell in the field. Like it was only, that was his original one, and
Oh God.
yeah, that's now not the oldest one in the field.
Never,
He'll now have the
never
newest
make
one.
that comment anymore.
Yeah, he will now have the newest.
Well, he's still got those other two cars.
Oh, he's still got the street car.
The street car. That's still full cage and everything else like that.
I'm not sure see, it would be sick if he drove the Ferrari for a round. Like if he drove the Ferrari, the Ferrari car, but I don't think that's allowed because I think it's got modifications to the firewall for the exhausts and
Yeah, it does.
or the intakes or whatever's up the front there. That would be sick though.
You'd have to put 2 bulbs in nitrous on those to actually keep up with a lot of people though.
Yeah, but that's what they did with the actual Ferrari. So.
Oh well, you're not wrong. He said in an interview on the Friday Media Day that he has 1100 horsepower and he wanted more. He wanted to bump up the nitrous to a bit more because I don't know why, but yeah, he said he needed more power to keep up with the cars.
Which one was that? The Ferrari?
The Ferrari, yeah.
That's because they pulled
Federico.
Yeah, because they kept chucking power steering belts. Not power steering, supercharger belts. So I think they pulled the supercharger belt off completely and stopped bothering with it, and then tried to bump up the power using nitrous rather than using, forced induction. Because they're running into issues of forced induction. I think that's why most of the guys end up just turbocharging because you just don't run into those issues now.
No, there's a lot less cars running superchargers now. They're all pro chargers or obviously turbo or NA. You can't. I think there's only. Well, I know the GTP is running a supercharger, but I think that's pretty much it, isn't it?
Alec Honendale's running one on the S14.
Yeah. Okay.
And then the rest I'm not super up on, but most of the guys are. Yeah, either turbocharged or just all nitrous. So I think purely for that reason and the fact that there's so many 2Js, I'm not sure many of the 2J guys would be running superchargers, and the guys running the 2AZs or the 2ARs or whatever they are definitely aren't going to be running them because no power.
Oh, Frederick Osbo blowing a spark plug in the final.
Yeah,
top 4 battle.
Yeah, so much little drama, isn't there? Yeah, that came through fairly quickly. So it didn't sound like they were worried that it had damaged the motor, but it had gone through the back of the turbo and completely destroyed the rear housing and the rear wheel on the turbo. So Frederick Osbo, like the team that normally is super onto it, burnt out a spark plug, and I'm an expert at that, so I know how it feels. I just don't make it to top 4. EG doesn't let me. And there's some dude from Tasmania in this red S13 who drives too good, and I just don't make it there.
Come on. When was the last time you actually did an event with me? That was Mount Gambier, like 2 years ago.
Nah, last year, Mount Gambier last year.
God, that's gone by quick.
Yeah, but lucky I didn't go to Tassie last year because I probably would have thrown myself off the boat considering it only lasted one lap of the track that I went to instead. So
Yeah, right. Yeah. Well,
fuck cars.
we won't talk about that.
Nah, nah. Move on. Uh,
So who was your like surprise of the weekend? Like who? Like, yeah.
Look, I'm gonna do the wanky thing, and one of mine, I'm gonna say it was good to see Mitch Lana out there and drive well. He drove really well considering uh, he's only
Borrowed
had
car.
borrowed car, and he was told again. I had a message from somebody who's involved with the team, messaged and said like Mitch has basically been told that car needs to be kept in one piece because Forrest is driving at Motegi Super Drift this weekend. He's not using the competition. He's not using the 15. He's using the 14. So yeah, Mitch did a really good job to keep that car clean. He drove really well and looked really natural in the car. And the fact that yeah, first
Yeah,
qualifying run
in-car
out,
footage was awesome.
Yeah.
like yeah, really good considering he. I think in total over the weekend he ended up doing. I think he said like 5 practice laps before qualifying, and then his 2 qualifying laps, then 3 laps or something in the morning practice. So all up, maybe 12 laps in total of that track, and he kept it off the
Yeah.
walls, like, and yeah, was the second highest rookie to that track. Travis
Yeah.
Reeder was the only person to beat him, and yeah, Travis would have probably been my other pick of the
Yeah.
weekend, like 500 horsepower or roughly 500 horsepower V8. No, they weren't running nitrous because they were having issues with it, and that car kept up really well. I
Dude, these lead runs were probably some of the best I've seen during battles. He touched every wall, that rear bar. He pretty much nailed it every single lead run. So that was really awesome to see a Pro 2 guy. How much difference jump it is. I mean, he was quite shallow on the switch into like the under the bridge, but other than that, he was close the whole time through every single battle he did. So
yeah,
that would be my pick for like highlight driver.
yeah, and considering he was like that, being at 500 horsepower is way down on what most of the guys are doing. It sort of showed that that track isn't super fast. Even though there's lots of comments about it being a rolling burnout track, but then you sort of go and watch in car and you see that they throw it into turn one, they throw it uh, after the bridge, and then they throw it into the last corner. So it's not too much of a rolling burnout, is it, EG?
I don't know.
Did you see the in-car footage from Matt Field? How much on and off throttle he is just to get that thing going.
Yeah,
It's just
I haven't seen.
you do so much research, EG. You're such a good reporter, mate.
like that car it looks like it has way too much horsepower. Like it can't get it to the ground. I don't know if that was their plan for qualifying to try and get the car a little bit more slippier than usual. But that thing, yeah, just it looked like it was on the ice skates, like just slipping around everywhere, just trying to touch the wall.
Yeah, well, I think from the media day, whenever they did that walk around for an hour and a half, he did mention he upped it about how considerably. So it'd be interesting to see how that goes because he made it lighter as well. He says he changed a few of the panels, so panel weight and just everything else involved. Whatever else he's done, it probably is just sort of skipping along the ground.
Yeah.
But the funniest part about that run that he did in qualifying is the fact that it broke the internet with that drone footage and everybody being like laughing at their friends who have tagged them and they're like, it's fake or it's a video game, and then laughing at their mates, and then you're sort of like, you're the dipshit for laughing at your mate because like that's actually drone footage of.
Yeah. It sucked. The drone footage was pretty crap in the actual live stream.
Yeah.
Like it was very fuzzy.
I thought that was really good because I fly them around and like seeing that. I know it's really bad
Quality.
as a viewer, but trying to get that quality, like it is in a cage. Like you get all those fences, like it's like a cage, like in a valley, like a cage. And so to get that sort of image, even if
Oh,
it's like that short, it's
don't
like
get me
that was
wrong.
really cool. That was
The actual the footage was amazing, but the actual
yeah.
the quality of the video was a little bit down compared to what his other videos were.
Yeah, but
But
I would imagine that.
Yeah, it's because I think it's because of the track and the
Live,
situation, like
live
having the
stream.
fencing there. Yeah, but I thought it was still really cool. Like I don't know
Yeah.
how they get that far. I imagine they've got like Wi-Fi or something like lit around the track to get sort of quality of signal. I'm curious.
But
Yeah.
I would expect that all that footage would be captured in like 4K or whatever anyway at the same time that they're doing
Yeah,
that, so it can all be
yeah,
used again later. And I would imagine we're probably going to get pumped with it this season, because I think he's probably going to do a full pull this season with the whole show, and that's what their plan is. So I just don't know how you drive
yeah.
something that fast and that consistently with a set of goggles, and then the fact that he's got that track, he's trying to get under that bloody bridge, and like between all that stuff. At some of the other tracks, I think it'd be easier because you've got all this space to play with. But shit
this
is
guy.
good.
Yeah.
The that guy's actually really good. So I've watched some of his videos, like a fair few, and yeah, you would he would stick it in place, like I guess a drone. You'd place where it'd only be just big enough for it to get through. Like that's sort of he does freestyle and everything, and it looks cool when you can dive through things and all sorts of stuff. So he is like a really good pilot. Lots of skill, lots of experience, and yeah, something like that. The bridge is the hard part. I think just like managing the smoke and sort of trying to manage, because you would get when you go under the bridge, just like on the stream, you'd get a slight sort of cut, and I hate it when I fly. So, but then other people, they'll just like, yeah, I know what I'm doing. So I can pretty much close my eyes for 1 second, is what these guys are saying, and they'll know where to end up because they just know how much stick they've got, where they are, and then they'll be able to fly around. So that's get through the smoke as well.
I guess that's what you pay for. They're obviously paying this guy a lot of money to, get some amazing shots, and my God, he did. Especially the outer wall between 2 and 3, like obviously how close the cars were, and just it's incredible to see. Like even on replays, like how quick it was just to catch that footage was, it's something I really want to see in the future, with more events. But yeah, it was a really cool idea, and I hope it really works for them, because it puts a new aspect, seeing drifting.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's really cool.
And FD's always been sort of into using the drones. I remember when I was at Road Atlanta, and shit, that was 5 years ago now, and they had a big drone with like a really hefty camera hanging off the bottom that they were using for the television coverage and stuff like that. It wasn't used for the live stream, and it was always over the track. But I think it just gives you a greater appreciation when it, is following them at speed, because that's a lot of the time it's what's lost. Like a panning shot of any fast sport slows that sport down a lot. And in something like drifting, where you're looking for information, see Formula One and supercars and any other motorsport tend to sort of fix the camera in one spot and have the cars coming towards them, or something like that, and it gives you a sort of an idea of the speed of the cars. But because in drifting you're looking for all that information, we spend a lot of time panning, but that washes off a lot of the speed. And then when you do your in-car footage, you sort of realize, like, you're like, oh, it doesn't seem that fast from my in car. But as soon as you sort of pop it up on the roof, or you have it like a car chasing you or something like that, and the footage is from just ever so slightly away from the car but following the car, you realize how fast things are happening. And shit, even the drone footage, with the fact that most of the cars being left-hand drive, as they're about to switch back into that last section, and you see the driver's hands moving at 100k an hour through the window and stuff like that. Like that's the cool little details that you normally miss, and you sort of, it brings that human aspect back into it a little bit more. So yeah, I would imagine that he's going to be at more rounds, but yeah, hopefully that sort of keeps going, because yeah, very very cool.
Because he didn't do a video at Texas Motor Speedway last year.
Either Texas or Irwindale, I'm pretty sure he was at, or he did both.
He was at both.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was at least 2 events last year because I saw his videos. They were really cool because you get the stream from, I assume it's like a GoPro filming, and then the footage that was released of Matt Field was, I think the footage was stored on board, and so that way it's like you don't get that sort of fuzziness or break up just from going over. I assume Wi-Fi. I don't. It'd be interesting to know what it is, what they're using. Because I can't imagine he's flying with that. But so he could be. That'd be cool to know.
Yeah.
Because surely it wouldn't be cellular data because of all the buildings be around. You know how much it would go up and down.
But they're not in Australia, mate, so they probably actually have coverage there.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you're not wrong.
Do you have 4G in Tasmania?
I do actually. And let me check my phone. Do I still have it? Yep, I'm good. Might drop in and out every now and again.
NBN there.
Yeah, they probably got it first.
Jesus, still waiting.
You're still waiting. We got NBN at least a year or two ago.
Yeah, they don't give a fuck about the politicians in Canberra, mate.
No, because they don't even live here.
Yeah, politicians are meant to be Canberra, isn't it?
Yeah, they're supposed to be helping their own area, but that doesn't really happen, does it?
They come here. I think they want to keep the information low when they go and visit the brothels and things like that, strippers. Then the information doesn't really get out that quickly.
Did you think there was? I don't think there was anything too controversial through the battles. I thought all the battles were pretty. I agreed with most of them. Dean Carney and James Dean, I think, was a little bit questionable. Their initial run. I was sort of almost leaning towards Dean in the first. Dean Kearney in that first one. The Viper one. I can't remember exactly why, but there was some funny stuff went on. I think was that the double, was that the 2-0? That was the 2 zeros where Dean's car had done something funny, and then James's car had nitrous issues and was shutting down and doing funny stuff, so they end up zeroing both out, and then I thought James's chase wasn't all that amazing, and Dean's lead was pretty good. So
he stepped it up a bit actually, that Dean. But yeah, Dean had trouble transitioning under the bridge. I saw it like obviously with Dean Carney, and then again with Frederick Osbo. His car was just quick in some spots, but then real slow in other spots. I don't know whether that was his driving style or what the guy was, but
so like as in James's car.
Yeah, James's car.
Because it was from when they went and spoke to him later, the nitrous system was doing funky stuff and causing weird issues, and they ended up switching it off. I'm pretty sure completely for the rerun with Dean Kearney, and then was off for his battle with Osbo, and you could you could definitely tell, because then he was having to pedal the car rather than just putting his foot down and it wanting to spool up for him. So definitely looked like he had to work for it at that stage, and I guess when you go second nature, just expecting it to be there when you put your right foot down and it's not there, a little bit harder work.
No, it's really weird because you'd see like the attitude of the car, and he's expecting it to swing back and come on power, but then it just sort of he's back and it just sort of didn't do anything, so he just straightened up and drove off.
Yeah, that's what I meant by the transition.
Yeah, so that was really bizarre. That's in his transitions. He looks so lazy. Like it looks like he was really sort of trying to get it through gently, get it through the other way initially, because I think he must have been cutting out. He was trying to like push through to the other way. So then, if it did cut out, it wouldn't be that big of an impact. So it was a bit weird. I kind of wish he had the car sorted. It was That was the other thing is there was a lot of cars I thought were not prepared. I would expect for pro FD competition.
Yeah, well, most of the cars this year is last year's car. they're just retuning it. Like I remember with Frederick Osbo, every car or every season except this year, like the last 4 years, has been a different car, and so there's a lot of guys that like change their car every year, but
Yeah.
this year it's all just fine tuning, and I feel like
Well,
that's the reason why
James,
they stepped up.
yeah, but James and Peter's cars were also new chassis, so everything had to be transferred over to the new shells. So they had played with stuff a little bit over in Europe. So I wonder if that's just it rearing its head where they expected it to go back together. You know.
Well, I saw on a post that James did in some of the comments that they were trying out a new steering kit. I don't know. They said they had to go back to this round back to the old kit from last year, but supposedly they're trying a new kit to try and obviously make their car better, or
Like a steering lock kit, or like a just an
yes,
overall like.
no, a steering lock kit.
Well, that doesn't surprise me because Wisefab S chassis are slow.
Mm.
Like, and I would imagine that'll start to show its head a little bit more at the bigger tracks. But you've seen Wisefab and you've competed against them at World Time Attack and stuff like that when they're fully gripped up, but when they're hanging off Wisefab, they're not moving at a great rate of speed.
No, and that's. I was a bit disappointed. Well, not disappointed, but I was a bit surprised with James and Peter how well they didn't do. I think a lot of people were. Like Peter was. I thought he was going to come out, and at the end of last year, he was all over everyone, and this year it didn't seem like on his game.
Yeah, he didn't seem like the little asshole that he normally drives like. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
he's the funny kid, but he's like, I don't care. Like, I'm just gonna try and push you around the track. Sort of attitude was a little bit more like, ah, shit. Like, I feel like after the run he had last year, now it seemed like he almost drove with a little bit more pressure, where he sort of was like, well, if I just keep it a little bit, maybe dial it back a little bit, you know, I can pull an Osbo and sort of win a championship or do whatever by just keeping it super consistent. But I think that bit him a little bit because a few other people came out and were just driving crazy well.
yeah. And I think driving conservative or driving to a T doesn't like it didn't work for Osborne last year. Well, it kind of did, but not really. You got to drive wild, like, and that's how Peter like did so well last year, because he was so much different compared to everyone else. He just drove out in anywhere he wanted to, and people didn't know his driving style, so he was a bit of a wild card. Where now he's driving a bit consistent, everyone knows his style, and everyone could adapt to his driving style and beat him.
Yeah. Do you know who sort of really stood out for me, and I'm a fan and not a fan at the same time, was Chris Forsberg, because
With the new engine package.
Well, the new
I
engine
think because he got his car sorted. That's more.
well, new engine package,
The
but
car
also
actually ran for the whole event this time.
yeah, but also a new steering package for him, because normally he was on Voodoo 13 and they were using him for development, but he's moved to PBM, so that's a little bit different for him. But I would imagine not a huge change, because it's sort of still a more traditional sort of steering lock setup compared to a Wisefab. But I was sort of like, yeah, and maybe because last year was such a downer for him, like, or the last 2 years were such shitty years for him, I was just like, sort of caught up with being like, oh, he's not the most aggressive driver, and let's just see how he goes. But yeah, every next lap he did, I was just like more and more appreciation for how aggressive he was driving, but clean he was driving as well, like not making major mistakes, not running into people. When he followed Chelsea and Chelsea buried that back half of that car through the first touch and go, he just stayed there. Like he didn't flinch at it. It was just like, all right, I'm gonna keep going. And that was the moment I was just like, he's gonna be scary this year.
Yeah, dude can drive. Like
Yeah.
he's got his mojo back.
But with improvement too, like not the mojo of 3 seasons ago, but like the skill level has still grown with him, with the rest of the guys, not even while having the downtime and all that sort of stuff with just such a crappy package that kept letting a good driver down.
Well,
So
he said he went through 7 motors last year.
he said he did, yeah, in the last 2 years he'd done 10 motor swaps, which is more than he'd ever done in his drifting career prior to that.
Yeah, and he said he's going to come back to this setup, but it wasn't reliable. Like, no one's made the VQ reliable at high horsepower. Not that I've known.
Can't even make the VQ reliable at standard horsepower.
Yeah, well,
I
you
shouldn't.
must be just doing it wrong, mate. I was seeing all these buddies thrash the shit out of those cars, and they just keep going and going and going. I don't know what you're doing.
I'm trying that on Saturday night again, so fingers crossed that goes well for me. So, but yeah,
the tuning style is different in America. The 180 still got the standard ECU on it.
which one?
The cream, like the cream 180, it's still got the standard ECU on it. They just somehow tune it around that. I have no idea how, or why.
Play with like ignition timing and
Yeah,
fuel pressure or something.
no idea. Like, just he's got the money. Just put his fucking Stanline ECU into it and just get the power you want.
Yeah, pretty much. But yeah, and then so I guess we haven't really spoken about what the actual podium was from the event. So podium was I can't even remember who won.
Odie.
Oh yeah, Odie won.
He was nailing it the whole event.
Yeah, nah, but
he's like the best qualifiers. He ran like really well throughout the whole event. I forgot who it was. You remember everyone else?
But but I actually follow him on Instagram and all that, and I ran his suspension on my 14. But he's like,
What?
He's sort of like a Dale campaign. He's just always there, always doing it. No, like a little bit more aggressive and
this time.
But
this time it was cool. Yeah, I know what you mean. But the last few years or seasons, he just was there, and then he's like completely changed.
But he was. But I don't think I saw him do 2 laps that looked very different to each other. Like he was just always in the lead, always in the same spot, and then in the chase, just always right up there in the pocket. So I think that the worst part for drifting is the fact that the top 2 cars being chassis probably isn't the greatest thing.
Not for like Toyota and stuff. They're putting their money into it.
Make more of them, or at least make a new design.
I wish that they would, but we shall see what sort of comes of that. But
they've got their own issues with. Did you see the stuff about Nixon that's going on in Japan?
Oh, yeah.
Going after the Renault guy.
No, I haven't seen it. Explain.
I don't know exactly because I only just started reading about it today, but there was some sort of, how I don't think Renault actually bought out Nissan, but there was like some sort of agreement where Renault would manage this, and so the some high up like owner, CEO, director, I don't even know what the position title is of Renault, Nissan started doing some stuff, and then he's been accused of I don't even know what he's accused of exactly, but so apparently he's gone to jail in Japan, and he's trying to prove his innocence, and he finally was able to post bail. It was like $5 million or something like that. But Japan's kind of funny, like it's almost like you don't get a lawyer as well when you get arrested or charged or something like that, and they can leave you without a lawyer for a long time before you can actually get a lawyer. And so I think there's some sort of funny stuff going on, but I don't know the full details. I just sort of briefly read what was going on from this particular person's point of view of what was happening.
But so is he
Haven't heard about it?
Nah. Is he going to end up in the jail cell next to the Toyota guy who got? I don't know if you saw that article going around, because the lead designer for the new Supra, who was supposed to be spending that money on the 3JZ and then ended up in in jail, but that came out on the 1st of April, so I don't know how true that one was. So you saw that article, didn't you, EG?
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah.
That was on Facebook on something.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Did you see that one, Matt?
Yeah.
That was
Nah, I didn't say that, unfortunately.
yeah, by the April Fool's ones.
April
Hey,
Fools,
oh,
yeah.
we never spoke about that. And like I know this is off topic, but fucking Wakefield's shitty April Fool's joke about like building a track in Canberra and all this sort of stuff. Like, that's not even funny.
I thought it was obvious, but then I fell for it.
But it's still just not a funny joke. Like, it's just like, hey, like we know you guys are crying out for this sort of thing, but like let's make a joke about it. Yeah, I don't know. So I wasn't impressed with that one. So.
I've seen some crueler jokes on
But it's not
like
even cruel. It's like not even funny or like.
TV and stuff.
But nobody can even sit back and laugh at that one unless it was like an inside joke within the office or something. But yeah, I don't know. That one was lame. But let's go back to FD
It's like-
because fuck Wake.
It's like Sydney Motorsport put up an article saying they were building a bike lane for the racetrack, and people had to share the racetrack with their bicyclists.
Look,
I
did-
remember seeing that as well.
Yeah.
But do you know the funniest part is that would probably happen considering before most events on a weekend morning there are cyclists out on that track before 9 o'clock or whatever. So
Just
run them over.
why?
Well, I've been to Tasmania and I've seen the amount of roadkill, so seeing some people in Lycra wouldn't surprise me as well. So
Yeah. Look. Yeah. We won't talk about that.
So I guess
Oh, first and second, Eshazi. Forrest Wayne was second, wasn't he?
yeah.
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 And then Forsberg was third in the VR 370.
So
And then Osbo was
Yeah.
fourth
Oz,
with the mechanical
Oz,
failure.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yep.
Osbo was fourth. So Nissan all top three, but the only one being full Nissan being third place, and the other two being motor swapped. And fuck LS the world, mate. LSS chassis winning the first round of FD. You know, just creating stereotypes.
I really call that LS anymore, mate. That's a bit more than LS, unfortunately.
Not much,
They-
not much left, but still not
They,
the
they
most.
put some reliability in there. That's
Yeah,
for sure.
not the most spastic one out of all of them. Oh, and then in qualifying, just top 5 all Falcon on Falcon tires. I know we shouldn't say that. Oh no, your family does Falcon too, but for some reason you're right on Kumos. So
Oh, Kumos, yeah. Yeah, Kumo the way, mate.
doesn't the family do Falcon as well? And weren't they sponsoring people with Falcon?
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, still do Falcon, but no, Kumo's a lot better tyre, so
They're just
No,
they're too
I don't think
busy.
we're gonna get a.
They're too busy blowing their money in Australia to be able to spend it in FD.
yeah. Well, Kumo's not really that big in America, to be honest.
That's
Like
what-
compared to
They haven't sent you there, mate. That's why.
obviously. That's why I haven't got a sponsorship deal.
But yeah. So currently, they do all their little sub championships, and Falcon is number 1, then Nexon, then Achilles, and Nitto. But I think the top 3 were all on different tires, so that's
Yeah,
no.
Falcon,
top.
Falcon,
No,
Achilles, and Nixon.
Yeah. Yeah, and then
Yeah, well, I suppose Nixon as well. I'm pretty sure.
yeah.
Isn't he?
So 2 Nexon tires in the top 4, and then Toyota currently leading the manufacturers championship because there's not that many Nissans and other cars that actually run same motor from the same
Wait.
family. So,
Yeah, I think Chelsea. If Chelsea Denofa's run in the top 32, if he didn't, because obviously his chase run going around the last corner, he put 2 wheels off, and that's the reason he lost, from what I heard. Because but if he did do that, he would have done very well, from what I think anyway. He was very like balls to the wall, and I think that's what people were excited about, was more hype for the event. But then, didn't you hear the crowd when they put Chris Forsberg to win?
Yeah, because of like stuff that's happened in the past and
Yeah.
all that sort of stuff. And even Jared was just like, ah shit, like about
Forsberg gets the win.
about having to say it. So yeah,
Most,
yeah, I'm excited to see the guys who end up driving Motegi this weekend and seeing them all, how they all, the guys who get to drive it again.
have we got an entry list for them?
Not at this stage. I'll see if I can find one really quick. This sort of event starts to show the shortcomings of drifting though, when you build all this hype leading into an event, and then there is really good driving, and people are losing not because of good driving, but because they got beaten by somebody who drove great.
Yeah, it's not just spinning out everywhere.
Yeah,
or
not bad
someone hitting
spinning
each
out.
other.
Yeah, and other than that one call we spoke about, that's probably the only call that I was a little bit like, oh, could have gone either way sort of situation, but I could see why they did it the way they did it. Uh,
Yeah.
But yeah, then all of a sudden you're like, all the hype for, super excited to see Pat Gooden back out there. He looked super comfortable in Matt Field's old S14, but he didn't lose because he drove that badly, but he just got outdriven, and you get to see him run 4 laps in total over the weekend. The one thing that I didn't love from this year compared to previous years was normally they end up with a top 32 practice after qualifying on the Friday night, and they ran no top 32 practice, and they didn't televise any of that stuff. So normally you get to see more of those guys doing more runs, but now you sort of got to be at the event to see that. So I sort of hope that they start to do. And I know it's expensive, but even if they were only to set up 1 or 2 cameras and just leave them fixed in place or something like that, but show a little bit more of practice and let us,
Kind of like what Ebbsford do it.
yeah, and just let us see a little bit more of, see a little bit more of these guys. So
Well, I was kind of keen to see more video from the media day.
yeah, oh yeah, a few of the drivers
Not
had
just
stuff popping up. We got people in the comments requesting Cotton Eye Joe, but I think they don't realise Ugly Phil's on tonight, so you're not getting Cotton Eye Joe. Sorry, Chev. Yeah, I'll sing it to you at the bash, mate. I'll serenade you. Yeah, no entry list currently up for that I can find for.
because who drove last year? There was GTP, Peter, Forrest Wang, Alec Honordale.
Dylan Hughes did the
So,
Saturday or the Sunday because I think the Saturday because somebody had car dramas and ended up stepping in. That
Yeah.
Link ECU 370, so a couple of Pro 2 guys.
Danny George. Or
Nah, okay. It's I'm pretty sure it's like some sort of Greek or Polish name or something like that. It's a long one, and there was the other guy in the grey Mustang. Can't think of it.
Oh yeah, that guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't remember him either.
And then I think Forrest normally does it as well. So.
Yep.
But it's just like I got no idea what's going on. So it's a good.
I know the event, but I don't know the drive.
They do some big prize money for those events, don't they?
Yeah, it probably doesn't equate to how much gets spent to be there though. So
like 2.5 or like 25. Oh, can't remember if it was like that much or if it's more than that, or I can't remember.
yeah,
But at least a little bit of prize money.
yeah, it's big prize money like our big pro drift events here. Doesn't cover the entry fee.
What big
Oh
event?
dear.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I don't think Matt's ever put himself through the pain and suffering.
One day I'll get there.
No, you
Just to
won't.
AGP. Just to AGP, mate. That was enough suffering as it is.
Probably less though.
Oh, debatable.
Leave so
Um,
happy less.
so next round of FD is I think end of April. So we're Jesus, don't
Orlando.
yeah, just don't. I just looked at the calendar. I was like, fuck, that's literally 2.5 weeks away. Just kind of scares me how quickly this year's going. So Orlando, pretty basic track, but basic means you mess it up, then it's obvious that you've messed it up. So
Yeah.
when I say basic, I mean like it's still scary. You're
A bowl.
running a
Burnout to the left and then burnout to the right. Is that it?
yeah, that's it. But when you miss when you miss one of the burnouts, it's obvious that you've missed the burnout. So it can have pretty big championship implications, and it's also the first round of Pro 2, so we'll sort of get a feel for where the whole season's gonna sort of go. So yeah, I'm not super excited for that track, but I'm excited to see where everybody lands after 2 rounds rather than just the one.
Yeah, my parents are actually be at Orlando that round, so they're going over there. They're going over there watch it. Actually, Falcon Tires are taking them over there to go over there and meet some of the guys. So it would be pretty cool.
I like how we're literally speaking about it and you avoided that topic until now. You're like, oh no, Kumo's better. We're not going to speak about Falcon at all. And
yeah, I mean, for me, Kumo's a lot better, but obviously for them right now, Falcon's the way to go. But
so why aren't you hooking onto that trip, mate?
Because they're the boss and I work. So I've got bills to pay, so I need to stay here and not spend all my money in America.
Yeah, that's fair, and the dollar's kind of crappy at the moment.
And also going overseas again at the later date, so I can't afford 2 overseas trips, unfortunately.
So, because mum and dad, whenever they go on their holidays, because mum and dad never take an actual holiday
Yep.
for mum and dad for you means that they've towed your car somewhere and then you've flown into the event or flown home. How the fuck are they getting to the US with the 13 on the back of the Ford Transit?
Oh no, they're taking a couple of weeks, go in the container,
Just put mum and dad in the container.
Yeah, I mean, there's enough room there. They got a van. They can put a double bed in the back.
So which event in the US are you planning on going and driving if you're not going to make it for that round of FD?
Obviously, Irwindale. You can't go America out there. SR22 right on that bank.
And then you can do the whatever the new burnout yard is out in the car park as well.
Oh yeah, isn't that the Woodhouse guys? Their video comes out soon, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think they did theirs on Sunday of FD, so I think that'll come out pretty soon. So that'll be fun to see. And I saw it a little bit on social media, and those two boys are just silly when they get together. So no, I'm excited to hear.
Hang on. You guys have moved on without speaking about the electric car.
Well, no, we'll get back to it. There's just so much hype about it that we forgot about it. But we're talking about Matt now. So like, so once mum and dad get back, you're gonna be like, just every day, just be like, oh, like, how cool was that event? Like, how like wasn't it mad? Like, wouldn't you like to see us over there?
And they'll say, when it comes out of your pocket, mate, we'll go over there.
Yeah, but if they're getting, big wigs to fly them over to the US and run them around and do all that sort of stuff, maybe one day they'll use those connections for you.
Let's hope so. Nothing's never impossible.
I'm waiting for Helen to like come busting through a wall or a window and just like smack Matt across the head.
Maybe I should lock the door.
Maybe your stuff will be out on the lawn.
I've only just moved back, actually.
No, it's cool to hear that they're going over to do that, and I should probably say that Helen's more drift royalty, within. Oh no, but she's not Tasmanian drift royalty. She's Australian drift royalty. You're only
Yeah, she's
Tasman.
drift mum.
Yeah, you're only Tassie drift royalty. Mum's
Yeah, I know.
Australian drift royalty.
Yeah.
Is it
Yeah.
awk- is
She's
it
no.
awk- is it awkward at events when more people recognise your mum than you?
Yeah, I just kind of hide in the corner while she goes around, meets everyone, and everyone calls her drift mum. So,
Fair. Yeah, for anybody who hasn't met Matt's mum, she does a lot for the sport within Australia and throws a lot of support behind guys. And if you ever need anything at an event, she's does what she can and sort of.
cooks breakfast for everyone. That type.
So, well, don't say that. Then all these people will be there trying to get breakfast. It depends if the eggs end up on the track at Mount Gambier or not.
Oh
Um,
god.
so yeah, I guess back to EG's point, the EL1 ended up
Not
on
driving.
not driving. So Formula Derp, you know, on the ground reporting put out that the city of Long Beach had put a stop to it being able to compete. So from my understanding, uh, initially was that basically, it was a city ordinance that basically said you can't run a petrol-powered car with a electric race car. Um,
In
and
the same competition
yeah,
or
in the
something
same
like
yeah, basically on track at the same time. And from what it seems like, it's come out that they would expect a crane and a dunk tank to be on site, so that if that car did happen to catch on fire, that they would be able to dunk the whole car in uh, basically a massive dumpster full of water. But
Mate, if that car's on the other side of the track, it's already up in flames by the time they even reach it, let alone try and crane it over to a dump tank. They'd have to have multiple dump tanks.
but
At least.
yeah, EG could probably know a little bit more because he's a little bit more nerdy. But I would imagine that it's more once it's smoldering, and they could probably put out some of the fire, but then the chances of it reigniting, or would it just go up in full blown flames, or you got no idea?
No, what do you mean, like after it's caught alight?
Yeah, like could
Yeah.
they contain it sort of, but then there's just a high chance of it restarting again, and that's the reason for them having to put it in, fully submerged.
Um, I wouldn't know. I don't
Yeah.
know. I usually you just throw the batteries in the water.
Yeah, well, because
Yeah.
did you guys both watch the Donut Media video that came out,
Yeah, I did.
overnight?
I watched that.
Yeah, so it looks like they've
That
got a whole bunch of
was
fail
a
safes.
very
Uh,
not very technical video. It took like 15 minutes. It just didn't cover very much.
but it looks like so Connor said that it's supposed to be in a tank for 24 hours because of the risk of it reigniting. So I would imagine stuff just stays hot and gets hot, and then and Sebastian said once it starts burning, you just can't stop it. So you can probably contain some of the flames, but probably can't contain the actual burning inside. But from that video, from a safety standpoint of view, before we speak about sort of the ins and outs of it, so the batteries are contained in a fully contained unit, and then basically hoses can be hooked up to that unit to pump the batteries full of water. I guess acting as though they're a dunk tank, but
Tank. Yeah.
but I guess that probably wasn't. I don't know.
Sufficient enough.
Yeah, and I guess the logistics are pretty wild too, because you'd almost have to bring your own support vehicle that carries the water for that, because you can't really expect the FD for one car to be carrying the right support vehicle, crash response vehicle to be able to get to the accident and pump it full of water. Where if they're designing their own system for trying to encase that fire and all that, they almost need to supply the vehicle to do that, but then also that would also then have to get clearance and insurance and all that sort of stuff to be able to be used on track when that sort of incident happens. So it just seems to become a massive clusterfuck of issues at this stage.
Yeah, well, have they decided if it's going to run in Orlando yet, or
Yeah, not sure. So we'll,
they've kind of kept all this like really secret, like there's nothing to the public saying, "Oh, we'll be there," or how it works or anything else. Like the donor media video was the first time I actually got to seen it like underneath it and like really anything about it and how it works.
yeah, I just wonder if that donut, well, because that donut media video would have been done, well, from what it looks
Before,
like, definitely would have been done before
Yeah.
they went to the event, because they wouldn't have got that back that quickly and then done that shoot. And it looks like that some of that footage from that shoot was what was used for the little snippet promo videos. But yeah, so I wonder if that was just sort of they might have a deal with Donut, or there might have been some, some handshake deals on, hey, like we're gonna do the release on it. Yeah, wait till we do the first round and let people see it before we give out too much more information and all that sort of stuff. So it's hard when you see a video like that come out, and Donut Media is, a fairly big, uh, media outlet on YouTube now. So I just wonder if that was part of it too, with them not saying too much, knowing that that video was sort of going to come out and they had the exclusive rights on it. So that might have been what played into it. But yeah, like it definitely sucks they didn't get to drive. But I just wonder now, with once you find out more about it, and just even just sort of worldwide at the moment, all the stuff that's being said about the electric vehicles and that sort of stuff.
Yeah, so much butter.
Yeah, but it's also a little bit scary too. Like I don't know if Donut Media was taking the piss when they talked about the fact that they needed defibrillators close by just in case the car bloody electrocutes you and shit. Like fuck
Yeah,
that.
it's to regulate your heart. Yeah,
Yeah, but
as if it goes sort of out of.
but like what are you gonna do? Wear it now? You got to wear a rubber suit underneath
But
underneath your fireproof suit, so that if you have to jump out of the car quickly, you don't get electrocuted by the car
But
on the way out.
do you do that at home? Because there's electricity everywhere.
Yes, but you've put yourself inside a metal box that's attached to all this metal. If my whole house was made out of metal with then like 240 volts running through it, I probably wouldn't live in it, to be honest. And with the risk of stuff hitting it and breaking those wires.
Being so dynamic, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
But it's that sort of thing. Like
I don't wear a
look at a
fireproof.
workplace.
I also don't wear a fireproof
Yeah,
suit
you just
around
sort
my
of
house.
mitigate. Yeah, but you mitigate
That's why I said you wear a
any
rubber
issues
suit.
that come up.
Yeah, so you wear a rubber suit underneath the race suit.
Well, I guess I don't know. I think the defibrillator is fine.
well, what do they do with the Formula E cars? Like, obviously they're more fiberglass than metal, but they're still obviously electric powered and battery powered and all that type of stuff. Do they have to wear any special equipment or?
Yeah, I'm not sure, but I would imagine that they're similar to an F1 car, so it's mostly carbon fiber and probably a monocoque type.
Carbon's conductive.
Is it? But it's highly conductive though.
I don't know. I have no idea, but I know it does conduct.
Okay. We'll probably get
But
comments
I
about it.
guess with that sort of thing, with the Formula E cars, I think there would be a bit more separation. Like the actual vehicle design will have separation between the driver and the big electrics or like whatever's drawing the power. Because I think because of the FD rules, they can't modify the car too much, and that's probably what's causing the bigger issue.
Like they have to have the batteries at the front of the car, and they can't put it like underneath the chassis where like Tesla and stuff do.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know what they do for safety, or how the Formula E cars are run. But it could be that the way that they run it is a bit safer in terms of there's a chance that the driver will get a drop of electricity compared to in this Camaro.
Yeah, well, I guess Formula E car, they've had a lot more, like obviously millions and millions of dollars trying to figure this out. Where this is the first time they've actually done an electric powered drift car. They're still working stuff out. I mean, it's always going to be like they're making footsteps, hopefully forward, not backwards. But like as the development said, it's going to get to the stage where there's going to be more than one electric car. There's going to be two, and then there might be three, or there might be half the film in the next 15, 20 years might be electric. Like it's inevitable. But we just have to get over that bump of it's happening. There's not much you can change about. We can't all stay petrol powered for the rest of our lives. It'd be nice, but
it also comes down to like when you're talking Formula E.
I'm going to keep my Skyline for my whole life, by the way.
That's because you don't.
Me too.
That's because you don't sell anything. But Formula E is when it's working on its safety precautions and all that is working on it for the whole field. Where now you've introduced one out of almost 40 cars, and then it's at this stage it's on the series itself to front the money to protect that one driver, and the spectators and the venue from that one car. It really is a surprise almost that it wasn't FD that went, oh, we can't handle this, and it ended up being the city that stepped in and did it. But hopefully that doesn't scare FD off too much. And yeah, even the fact that there's rumours that Formula E isn't back in Long Beach this year. So, and I think the thing that people need to understand with Long Beach is the city itself. That club that runs all those Long Beach events is like a massive motor club there, and they've been doing motorsport for a really long time, and the fact that they brought Formula E there, adopted it early, and they were one of the first venues to be running it. They're behind all of this, like they understand it all, and they've always been really supportive. Like no other, other than car parks and stuff like that, nobody's sort of let drifting use until Eastern Europe started letting people do it. Has really adopted the sort of street drift events and stuff like that. They were one of the first to do it. So they've been super supportive of motorsport moving forward. But clearly there's been some things that have happened that have started to worry them. And so, and I'm guessing for the greater good of, moving forward on stuff, they haven't been hugely outspoken because I haven't really seen too much pop up about it all. But, yeah, at this stage, I think they've just got to start working on how they can, fight those fires properly and just sort of eliminate some of those risks. And when they're trying to get drivers out, and if a car's electrically live, and now all of a sudden you've put safety crew at risk as well when they're grabbing cars and getting shocked and things like that. So you've just added more and more risk into the picture. So
that'd be
remember
we would have sort of system.
Yeah, but we run a pussy state now, like worldwide, where we have to protect everybody from everything.
Yeah, I understand that, but like if a car's like on fire with a particular, different types of fuel, and how is that like so different to manage? Like I can understand the fuel's different, so it's an electrical fire, and it's going out by with him probably be a chemical reaction, like oxygen mixing with whatever's in the batteries. But why couldn't you, instead of, so for this particular car or the event, you would have these type of fuel fire typing sources, equipment or whatever. Like
so this is
whatever.
purely me.
I don't know.
Yeah, so this is purely me guessing. So I'm guessing when they run it at Long Beach, they're running under the car club that runs, all the Grand Prix and stuff like that. So the Long Beach Club. So the city itself has made regulations and rules in place. So I'd imagine, because when there was the guy there that looked like Santa Claus with the big beard who used to stand just behind the wall from underneath the bridge. He was, he was part of that car club, um, and I think they use all those guys in white are part of that car club. So I'm pretty sure they, they're the guys who are volunteers and they're the guys working that event. So because that's a city-run car club, I think the city's brought in its own rules and it's a fairly unique situation. They sort of own the event sort of thing and have the regs and the insurance and all that. Where when they travel other places, probably similar to what we get, with a DCA event or a high tech event or whatever, you can sort of pick and choose which insurance company you're under, and basically if the insurance company is happy to pay out if something happens, and that's the regs that they've put in place, you can go and do whatever you want. So I would imagine FD's regs under their insurer has gone, we're happy, we're satisfied that we can do this, but the higher power within that organization in the area that they were running was basically like, we're not satisfied, it doesn't meet our criteria, and we're just not going to let it run. So hopefully moving forward to Orlando and stuff like that, they let it run. Um, so I would imagine that there's a good chance it'll run there. Uh, there's been I've seen some interesting stuff on Adam LZ videos and stuff like that that's running down at that track. So I can't imagine the track will have too much issue with letting that sort of thing run down there. But yeah, rather than talking too much safety on it, just the rundown on the video itself that sort of outlined it. If anybody hasn't seen it, it's on Donut Media's YouTube page, and it's running a Tesla rear end, which they've sort of flipped the motor upside down for better weight distribution and supposedly cooling and stuff like that, and it runs into a differential and it makes just on 500 horsepower, which for Travis, he drove that really well with 500 horsepower, but they reckon makes like 800 foot-pound of torque or something like that, which is an absolute bucket load, right up there with the top guys. And then they've sort of got the batteries contained um, in a compartment in the engine bay, because as Matt was saying, they can't modify the floor pan to try and fit all the batteries in under the floor or under the driver's seat and all that. And then it's got a it's got a clutch pedal in it as part of its pedal box, but it does nothing.
Yeah, I kind of wonder.
So my understanding from the media day video was just to give him. Oh no, who put it up? Somebody put a video up. One of the other drivers, I think, spoke to him on an Instagram story, and it's basically so that he still presses it when he pulls the handbrake, so that if he's ever jumping back in another car, that he doesn't forget to, like, he keeps that muscle memory of. But I think when you grab the handbrake, you're sort of using the clutch pedal to almost brace yourself as well. It's not very often that you sort of feel super comfortable just to yank on the handbrake, because it's gonna slow the car down and push you forward, the same as when you press the brake pedal, you sort of brace yourself against it to as the car slows. So probably gives you something to push against and brace against, rather than having just a dead pedal there or something.
So I'm
Or
still
drive.
still not understanding how the handbrake works. So it's obviously there must be a disengagement and re-engagement of the rear wheels of some aspect, but how does the hydraulic handbrake work, being a Tesla or being an electric power car?
Yeah, I don't know how electric motors work, and if you can stop them. Well, I would imagine you can stop them instantaneous, right? And then they just spin back up to speed. But wouldn't that just shatter that differential though?
If it, yeah, well,
Because it's different, because it's
unless it engages neutral and then drive again. But yeah, like I said, that rear end would not last long at all.
yeah, because it's taking like a crap load of torque through
There's
it.
not enough information in that video, and I don't even know if it's correct or not. So that video did miss something, where something does disengage, but I don't. Yeah, it was such a long video that explained barely anything.
Yeah, and it was just a typical over the top donut media type stuff too.
Yeah.
So Connor said that it
So
looked like it was
I still can't.
yeah, Connor said
Yeah.
it looked like it was a twin caliper setup, and then I'm getting messages from other people. Um,
Yeah, they did say it's a hydraulic system,
yeah,
so it would be like normal brake and a handbrake. But it's I can't. You can't just put the handbrake on and have motors run. So something's got to disengage. I don't even know anything about the Tesla motors. So I don't even know
But
if there's like a flywheel or like a mass in there that needs to slow down.
Does a Tesla have a handbrake to begin with? Or is it just a parking?
that would just be a parking brake, I would imagine. Some sort of potentially even a second set of calipers or a drum or something that you flick the switch and it pushes the brakes on or whatever. But yeah, we should probably definitely do more research into it. But
Because surely it's not a joke. Like, surely
the
they
handbrake.
wouldn't put it. Yeah, surely it wouldn't be a
Nah,
joke.
the handbrake works from what they've said.
It's hydraulic. Yeah,
Yeah.
they said it's hydraulic.
Yeah.
Just
So
try,
it'd be just
try and
like a
figure it out in
normal
my
sort of
head
setup.
how it works.
And yeah, they said it definitely doesn't use a clutch. But yeah, Connor said that a Tesla has like a twin caliper sort of stock setup for a handbrake, but you're not ripping it while you're driving, so it's purely for parking. I think a lot of the BMWs and stuff like that are like that too, where it's a different parking brake separated from from the actual foot pedal brake. But yeah, I would just imagine that if it's like, does the motor, Connor can probably answer it, does the motor ever free spin? Like, and when the motor's free spinning, is that just current not flowing through it, but it lets it still rotate? But that's when those electric motors charge back into the battery, right? Is when they're free spinning?
No, not when they're free spinning. When they're
Okay.
charging back, they're
It's
throwing
off the
that
brakes.
inertia out. No, it would be going. It would be power going backwards. They'd be throwing the inertia. So it's slowing the car down when it's drawing power in.
Yeah.
It would feel like brakes. So when you turn it, regen on, it would just feel like the car's like on its brakes.
But I just don't get how you kill it instantaneously, and then as soon as you put the foot back down, because it's got because the car will be sliding, so the resistance
I don't
is
think there's enough information
Yeah.
about it. And I don't know enough about the Tesla system as well.
especially
Yeah,
because they spoke about it being like the
and it has to run the stock rear end as well, like the stock,
Yes.
the
And mounting
factory.
points.
Yeah.
So it's got a Camaro over end of it.
Yeah.
But they said the pedal too is like, if you want to go faster, you press it down further, and if you want to go slower, you hold it up higher. So
Yeah, so
if you go for like a
that's
massive,
why I didn't explain it. Yeah, I don't think, because that's where the motor controller comes in. So I'm curious to know how much the motor controller controls the power delivery.
Because surely it wouldn't be all at once. Like, it just will
There'd be a
spin like
gain
crazy.
on it.
but I would,
Yeah,
but if you,
that'd be like a little lag system.
yeah, because if you grab the handbrake and dragged on it, and then drop the handbrake, and then just put the foot all the way back to the floor, and you've got 800 foot-pound of torque right there at 0 wheel speed as it goes to start turning, surely that's going to shatter that rear diff out the casing. And if it doesn't do
No,
that,
that'd be
it's
just like
If not,
clutching it. No, that's like clutching it.
yeah, but it's like, but the clutch is still, yeah, unless you've got like a crazy clutch or something like that. But does nobody else has it at that much
It's
torque?
spinning already. Like,
But you
they're
don't have,
moving.
but that's,
Let's got the handbrake down, and then they start rolling again.
but is that instantaneous torque as well? At that,
Yeah, because you let the clutch back out. You're on the power. It's the power down will be the same as you sort of getting your foot off the clutch, and then the clutch re-engages. That's still like at X RPM on full throttle. You're still gonna have max.
but most
torque.
of those guys I know in FD now are running like clutch dampeners and stuff like that to make that clutch release slower purely for that sort of reason.
Yeah, but that's the gain. So that's what the motor controller would do. So the motor controller would control how much that actually comes on, how quick. That's what I'm curious about, because I want to know how much it controls. I don't know enough. I don't know anything about the Tesla motor.
Yeah.
So
It'd be like kind of like in drag cars that had the boost solenoid, where it'd be like 20 pound first gear, 25, 30, 35. Obviously, it'd be regulated speed wise, I guess. But yeah, there needs to be a decent video where they go into some of this stuff, because it's just all a secret.
Yeah, and I guess it'll be interesting to see if they bother to not keep it secret, considering, they probably don't want people to steal, well, not steal, but borrow their information to go and do something really similar.
But wouldn't you want that? Oh, I guess not. Wouldn't the sport want that though? They want more.
Yeah, but what?
but this guy's probably paid a lot of money. Like, you just gotta remember that they don't want to release the information. They want to have the edge for as long as they can.
But isn't the edge though? Like, it's cutting edge technology. Don't get me wrong, but they're not winning. They can't even get on track at the moment. So
but when they get on track, they want to have the edge. So they don't want someone. They want to come out and say they won the last state. So they went to Long Beach and they won it. They blazed it. They just did. The car was absolutely amazing, easy to drive. It was just on song, and they won the event. Then how many other people were like, "Holy shit! Maybe we should look into electric cars."
So if they don't do well, will they release the information, or will they go back to the drawing board and redo it?
I don't know. We'll see.
We'll wait and see.
I don't think they'll do well. Yeah, but I hope they keep continuing. That's what I think.
I mean, good on Travis for getting the drive and doing something different.
Yeah, and I'm also glad that they knew that there was potential that it might not happen for them, so they showed up with the other car. They brought it with them. It was already wrapped, ready to go. It's not like they're a Californian. I don't think they're a California-based team, and Travis isn't Californian-based, so clearly they've brought the car. Travis's Pro 2 car from the season before, had it wrapped to look the same, and had it there so that they still could compete. So, they came in clearly knowing that there was potentially going to be was going to be issues, and I'm pretty sure they're running. The two cars would be on different tire sizes and stuff like that, so they clearly showed up equipped to rock and roll either way. So
I like Logan's comment. It sounds a lot like him and his car. It's very simple.
No, that's just like him.
Yeah. But Logan's car is like Harvey, and it's like what he's sort of describing is like a Harvey sort of thing. It's not. It wouldn't be a direct sort of thing. There would definitely be a motor controller that has a computer. Like I don't know how complicated the computer is.
Well,
but
they showed it. They said that they could. He could sit there and change the power output on the start line and stuff like that before he even starts to run.
Would you get that control the driver though?
Speed, the gain in current as well. I think there'd be adjustments on there to how quickly it gained current and how quickly it gained speed. There would be some sort of map, I'm guessing. So I really want someone to go through detail to see how to control it. And if it is they could even have a sensor on the rear wheel or front wheels or wherever, they could have multiple where to say this is the max amount of wheel slip we want. So it doesn't matter how much.
They're not allowed to have wheel speed sensors.
Not? Okay.
Nah.
Well, I don't know, but yeah, that's why I was just sort of wondering, is there any sort of thing where they can sort of detect that or they use that to their advantage? Because then that will give them the optimal acceleration without human input. So they'll just use a computer to actually let the car get lots of wheel spin with maximum amount of car speed.
Yeah, I think we'll just get a better idea once we actually see a video of it turn some proper laps, not just a couple of sort of small burnouts in the driveway at the shop.
That's right.
I think that'll tell, probably not for me. Guys like Connor and Sebastian and yourself, you guys have more idea than I do. will probably sit there and be like, oh, I get it more now, where I'm going to sit there and be like, looks cool. Um, but yeah, I think that'll also tell the story because you'll sort of, I guess you won't hear, but you'll sort of see how the car reacts and what it does, and you'll be able to tell sort of what the wheel speed looks like for its ground speed and stuff like that. But you know, you guys have been driving long enough to know that a crazy amount of wheel speed compared to your road speed is fairly unpredictable. So it's still got to find that happy medium where it's not just absolutely blowing the tires off it at a slow speed and the car gets super slippery. So um, yeah, you know, then it might turn into more rolling burnouts for you, EG. But
But
yeah,
I'm really curious to see. I really wish I wanted to drive it.
the poor dude
Just to
who's
see.
supposed to drive it has barely driven it, so
I know.
I'm not sure they're
I
gonna
know.
let you
I
drive
still
it.
want to drive it.
You want to drive a Wisefab
Yeah.
car? You want to drive the
Yep.
electric car?
Yep.
You killed my car.
Yeah.
You're supposed to keep this going,
So.
man.
Yeah, I know. I really want to drive it. I don't think I'll get an opportunity, but maybe they'll become popular enough. And I'm surprised how many people are opposed to it. That's what's really, and just like their opinions on it as well.
You know what people like though? They don't like change. They don't want. They don't.
Yeah.
They think it's perfect now, and it shouldn't
That's
change.
fine. And I do think having no noise, like a noise, is an aspect of it. So not having that sort of combustion engine noise will take away from drifting. But
I can see it more technical, like technical competition. So you know how Mad Mike had like that pinball where it's more like technical. You have to score that many points. I can see like that kind of being like a more technical side of competition more than just the raw V8 power of America, pretty much.
It was funny because I saw a Victorian driver who gets pretty butthurt by this show commented like super butthurt on one of FD's posts. Yeah, happy 34th by the way, mate. But he commented on a post by FD about it. Like why is this, you know, so glad I didn't run type attitude towards it, and Aaron DeWar commented like, you know, he's excited to see that sort of car run, and you know he works for a massive V8 building, you know, workshop in his family, and he's like put a Vegemite jar lid in the rim so it makes a whole bunch of noise or something like that, and just let it go or something like that. So it was pretty funny. So yeah, it's good to see when you've got guys who are building big horsepower V8s who are excited to see it as well. It shows you that it's sort of a minority and a funny group of diehards who aren't actually diehards that don't like change. So yeah, good luck to those type of people.
Yeah. Everyone's just more interested in the actual car itself than it drifting. You know, they want to know like how it works. You know, and that's what Donut Media. Everyone was so excited about this Donut Media video. You know, what he's going to see. Whole car reveal, how it works, blah blah blah, and then it's just like a sponsored video with just like not much detail. It's just pretty much the basics of how it works.
But I guess here's now, if it doesn't get to run at the next round, and Travis does, you know, looks good again, and then he ends up being able to drive it for the rest of the season, it's going to be more disappointing to see him jump in a car that doesn't drive well when he's come in as Pro 2 champion and already shown that he's been one of the best rookies to step up from Pro 2 into the main class, and then ends up being let down by a car, considering he showed up with a under horsepowered car and did well in the first round, and now he might be in a car that underperforms purely because it's new. But I guess if it's a difference between him having a sponsorship and not, then is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, like you said, it's a sponsorship thing. You know, he can't do it off his own back, obviously, because it's hard enough being a Pro 2 driver, let alone a Pro 1 driver. The amount of money would just step up financially, like exponentially. But it's a sponsorship deal. It's I'd be if he doesn't do well, then everyone knows he's done well the last round and whatever other rounds he does in that car. Everyone knows he can drive. So if he does get another sponsorship deal, then good on him. But I think he's like tied to that car. He can't really go if that car begins to work, and it's not as good as the S13. But I mean, it's like anything really, like any sponsorship deal. You can't just change car halfway through it.
Yeah.
Just because it's not doing that well.
Yeah. But yeah,
It gives him impact in the electric car. Even if he doesn't do well, I hope that people sort of identify that it's not really a fault with him as a driver, but like there's teething issues with the car.
Well, there's always been questions about the guys coming out from Pro-Am or Pro 2, whether or not they're ready for the big show, and he already proved that he is with the way he drove on the weekend. So I think it's almost been a blessing in some ways for Travis to be able to be like, see, like I can mix it with these guys, bigger tires, much bigger tires than he was running, was able to keep up on that style of track with the big boys still. So now let's see what this other car can do, hopefully. So
and it wasn't like he made mistakes or anything. It was just he got beaten by a better driver.
Yeah.
Like he didn't make any big mistakes. He didn't crack into a wall or spin out every run. He was like
good.
he's only just got beaten.
Yeah.
So he can definitely keep it up with some of the other guys. He made it to top 16, top 8.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's top 16.
Yeah.
Which is a big feat in your first. A lot of guys in their first season of FD are just like, I'd like to make top 16 once.
Or qualify in top 32.
Well, yeah. now that'll be a thing. So. So yeah, look, it'll be interesting to see how the rest of the season goes. Hopefully, Mitch can get back across there. At this stage, I don't think he's doing round 2, but I think he's trying to work to see if he can get across there again. It'll be interesting to see how some of these foreign guys. It sounds funny when an Aussie says foreign about Americans. When the non-American guys who are trying to make it over there. There was the Italian guy in Michael S's championship winning BMW. There was the new C7 with the Brazilian guy driving, and they either all had teething issues or just struggled with the big grip, big power cars. So a lot of learning curves for a lot of those guys, and it'll be interesting to see moving forward how much of that we continue to see.
Is it the up garage guy, the guy that drives the GTR? Is it Kazu? What's his name?
Taniguchi. I don't know what his first name is. Yeah, Taniguchi.
He was meant to be driving S15 this season.
Yeah, and I think it's yeah, I'm pretty sure it's still in the build though, because it was they had showed pictures of it being built in a workshop in the US. I'm pretty sure. So I think that's still on its way. That GTR GTR looks like it just drives funny.
He's gotten better driving it, but still,
The car looks funny more than him though.
The car looks shit. He drives fucking mint in Japan.
He does.
Things are bucket. So.
But yeah, that car. Even
he's like frustrated and.
Yeah, when Robbie
you can just tell from his driving.
When Robbie drove that car and all that sort of stuff, I think Darren Kelly and I can't even think his name now. He's not like he's one of the best Japanese drivers in the world, but can't even think of his name. The Toyo car, fucking
Kawabata.
Yeah, like they're the only two GTRs that I think I've seen like super sorted. Like Bagsy's one over in Europe that's used as a demo car and is just fat, low, and looks cool. But they're the only two that have really got cars that seem super dialed and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, I don't know. Hopefully he gets out of that car soon and he's in a S chassis, because they're already dominating. So maybe that'll mean that he'll rise straight to the top. Yeah, because he was right on the edge of not even qualifying. Like he was down there somewhere, and I was just like, Jesus Christ, like it just doesn't look good.
No, it doesn't look good to his name, but it's just I think it's a Fanat's car built. Like when they did the like the breakdown of it, it just wasn't that well put together from what I saw. Or obviously it doesn't work because Robbie couldn't drive it. And he
Yeah.
drives it really well. Yeah, Taniguchi can't drive it. So
And when you got guys like Robbie who have come from like a super basic IS200, like that IS200 literally had cut and shut knuckles, cut and boxed in, extend lower control arms, and that he put that on the podium not even 5 years ago, and
yeah,
then couldn't drive this, fancy built GTR. So that's not a driver issue. That's a
the
car.
car builder. Sure.
So yeah, hopefully Taniguchi ends up in that S15 quick smart, and starts feeling like, or showing us what he's actually capable of. So
Do you reckon that the S15 is going Japan, obviously SR and everything, would that be competitive in Formula Drift, or do you reckon it'd be?
no, because I think you need that instant drive out of your right foot, and I think anything SR is going to be, unless you're going to make it super highly strung. But I don't know if you do you listen to much of the Maximum Driftcast stuff?
No, no, I don't.
When they spoke to Papadakis recently, and those Toyota four-cylinder motors, they've found a way to like bolt down the head in more spots than factory is bolted down, because as they put more and more boost, they were just flexing the head more and more with even with bigger head studs and all that sort of stuff. So they had to find new places to mount head studs in, and do all this sort of crazy
Gosh.
shit to keep the head down on a four banger. So I can't imagine anybody's going to spend too much money on an SR to try and get the 800 horsepower that you need out of it to be competitive and super responsive.
Yeah, well, there was a guy running back.
David Briggs.
David Briggs, yeah.
In the S14 had the 2.4 Mazworks motor, but
Yep.
I think that was a little bit unreliable. Also, 5 years ago or something, around he was on the Achilles Transporter when Daigo's car was there. So it wasn't until after David sort of stepped out that the 1,000 horsepower chase was on. So nobody's really done the
Yeah.
SR since then.
All the audio skips or anything else like that.
So I heard Helen Harvey's going over to the US to do some research so that she can build the world's first 1,000 horsepower SR20 to send her favorite child over. So I heard Sam's going to do really well over there.
Oh yeah. All I say is good luck. Good luck.
Boom.
No.
Stir him up.
Come on, mate. When you get a reliable car, we'll talk.
That's right. I'll take those shots back. I'm happy to take the fire back. But
Hey, you can't be. My SI's been very reliable.
honestly, dude, you're and we're gonna get you back on. Hey, you want to come back on next week?
Yeah.
All
Why
right,
not?
there we go. We got Matt next week, so we did that with Fink, and Fink just talks about himself too much. So next week we'll get Matt back on, and we'll speak about Matt, because I know you've got, we're hitting 2 hours now, and I know you've got a motor swap planned and all sorts of fancy stuff. So we'll save that for next week. But yeah, you did a lot in the last 2 years, then gave people a hell of a shake up at World Time Attack in an SR car. So we'll gush over you in an episode that's just about gushing on Matt. So, but yeah,
Driver fault that World Time Attack. It's not the car.
yeah, you still did a bloody good job, mate. But anything else on FD, or we're at almost 2 hours?
Not really, to be honest. I mean, obviously the driver levels stepped up.
Yeah, I just hope the consistency continues, because I think it'll make it for a better.
And first run to qualifying. God, there's a lot of guys that spun on their first lap.
Yeah, and also there was a guys that didn't continue out of the final corner. Did you see that?
Yeah, they just straight lined. Yeah.
Well,
yeah, but I think they missed something in briefing. I reckon that because the guys that were there the first time never watched a Long Beach round.
Hey, Jack
They just
Shanahan
didn't
just
know
just
that happened.
joined. Hi, Jack.
they didn't know. Say hi to Jack Notamaki.
Yeah, but
Anyway, so
that's because he
they
made it. Like, he's like, we've made it as a show now. Like,
anyway, they didn't actually go through the last corner. So I reckon that they must have missed some
nah.
things in the briefing that they just sort of assumed that you would know.
Well, a lot of those. So anybody who's driven it before will know that you've got to drive past the finish line. Because in the last few years, there have been a few incidences where, like, Ryan Turk blew a battle because he stopped as he came across the finish line, and a few things like that over the years. So most of those guys who have been following it before they started driving it would sort of know. But Dylan Hughes had clutch issues and ended up the car dying or not being drivable out of the last corner on his second qualifying run when he had absolutely killed it the rest of the way through. That was the BMW. The guy had come second in Pro 2 the year before, and yeah, my heart broke a little bit when uh, he didn't make it through the final corner. There are a few other people too, and I'm not sure it was that. I think some of them just had car issues, or they washed out too wide past that inner clip, and then it was either if you tried to stay on angle, they're probably going to bury it in that outside wall. So pulled the car straight, and yeah.
Yeah.
But even some of you guys who have been there for a long time, like Jeff Jones and Kyle Moen, did some weird shit. So, but
Oh,
Yeah.
Jeff had dropped I don't know if you follow him on Instagram, had dropped a bloody transmission on his hand and broke like literally snapped his finger and just shoved his race glove, like they bandaged it up, sort of shoved his race glove on and sent him out to do his 2 qualifying runs, and then took him to the ER afterwards, and then they had to put like a full metal splint and stuff on it. So
Jesus.
there are a few things happening in the background. Like, the reality is, if to get the full story now, you need to be following these guys on Instagram, because a lot of the stuff ends up
Instagram.
um, to get.
I don't really follow. I don't even get on Instagram that much. I need to do that.
Instagram's the way. Facebook's dying.
Um, Logan just messaged to say Cole Moen's car has no lock, but I thought it had Wisefab. Well, the old car did, but his qualifying run that he actually got a score on, I'm pretty sure I could have walked faster than that run. It looked no, but like it looked retardedly
I know.
slow.
It didn't go anyway.
Like it crawled through, like he was running on, like, he'd put like space savers on the back, and the foot was flat, and it was just like, but it held
There was
angle.
no forward movement.
But like he'd put Macca's trays under his front wheel drive car or something, and just sort of slid it through really slowly, and
It did the Wisefab thing, mate. Just slid into.
but not even like it wouldn't have had the speed to do Wisefab. Like, if it had Wisefab, it would have like just drift stalled and stopped. Like, so yeah, that run was weird. I watched that and I was just like, did that literally just crawl through that track? Like, I don't even know how he made the distance. So
Well, it is a brand new car. I mean, I guess, but then again, he's known that chassis for a long time. It should.
yeah, he's competed in it before, so yeah, I don't know. That was just weird though, like, just like how slow it went through there. So
I'll
yeah.
tell you about the last clean point, going around the hairpin. Do you see Dean and Osbo come together?
Yeah, but did
Yeah.
and then Osbo apologized.
Yeah.
He was like, "Oh, I've been banging too much door on the ice in Norway and just got carried away." But I think, yeah, I don't know. I think that's okay.
Was that Dean's fault or was that Osbo's fault?
James Dean ran.
Pushing up.
Yeah, James Dean ran so wide there and sort of straightened up a little bit, and Osbo took the faster line sort of through the hairpin and managed to just get right up beside him and almost overtook him. So, and again, like, we're pretty sure he was down on nitrous, so the car was lazy to come up on power. So Osbo's car would have been just straight on it and smashed underneath him. So.
But if Osbo would have had backed off, would that have been classed as a straighten before the finish line?
I doubt it. I reckon by that stage most of the judges are probably looking down and getting on with their scoring. So.
Yeah, true.
I wouldn't think so, and yeah, I don't know. But to me, it's like that's part of part of it all. And if there's a difference between it being done respectfully and you're both like flat to the floor, and if your car's just come out of there fast and you've stayed on it, then it's one thing. But if all of a sudden the person's come, it's an area where that grey area where you're starting to roll out of the throttle, and then you're starting to do it, it's sort of that's a bit questionable. But it was in a full throttle area, so yeah, I don't think it's really a big deal. But it adds to the drama for sure.
Yeah.
Especially
At least he
considering that,
apologised, I guess.
yeah, and the fact that they hyped it up, being like, this is the battle we missed out on at the end of last season, and all this sort of stuff. So,
Yeah.
so yeah.
There was some really good runs that surprised me, like how good it was going to be, and then obviously people with car troubles, like the battles you expected to be like the big battle was a bit disappointing. Like obviously Osbo and Dean and a couple of others, but it was good to see different cars up on the podium compared to what it has been last year and the year before.
Well, I think that's Forrest 2 years in a row at Long Beach, so hopefully that means he actually can continue that through the year. But it also shows you what a level playing field that track is, though.
His car's gone a lot faster compared to last year, from what I've seen. Like it could actually keep up with most of the cars, where last year was more just like wise of everything and then try and keep up with the car, where he was pretty much on them the whole time.
Yeah, and it's
so he got his car dialed.
Yeah, and it's he's not on a crappy tire manufacturer. Like he's got probably the softest of the tires being run in that series on the back of the car. So it was up to him to make them work, and clearly he's got them working now. So,
but how are they going to go at Orlando though, seeing they're the softest tire compared to what the new Nitto tire that's meant to last 4 laps?
Yeah,
because obviously last year with Orlando there was
the tires were falling apart. Yeah, by the end. Yeah, it'll be interesting. It might be the track that the Mustangs sort of really rise to the top. So,
because the new Nitto looked more like a street tire than actual.
That was my understanding of it, because you wouldn't, you're the tire guy, so you tell me if I'm wrong. But I would imagine because there was a lot of tread blocks on it, like a normal street tire, and if you ran that soft, it would get hot really fast, and I would imagine those tread blocks would just fall off the
delaminate real quick.
So it would have had to have been a slightly harder compound. But yeah, clearly they've moved that direction for a reason, and that's one of the biggest budget teams that have headed that direction. So yeah, I honestly think they're just looking for like everybody's looking for consistency now. It's about consistency rather than just outright spasticness. So yeah, I think the Mustangs, as the season goes on, are going to be probably like 2 cars that will come in and upset a whole bunch of people at the time that people don't want to start being upset because they think that they're in a good run for the championship. Then all of a sudden the Mustangs are just the consistency.
Yeah, Deneuve is the dark horse. Pretty much, if he's on a good day, nobody can beat him.
Yeah, but then you just look at what Vaughan did at Irwindale last year. So so those guys are definitely the ones that I think people need to sort of be worried about, because those cars are developing more and more, and then they've sort of moved to that, trying to go for that consistency throughout, and on the bigger tracks, they'll only just get the 2 laps out of the tyres, but those tyres will be there the whole way, rather than the manufacturers who have tyres that are falling apart. And you've seen a set of NTO5s, right?
Yeah.
They're not deep at all.
No,
they're like some of the shallowest tyres you can buy.
Yeah, they're soft, but they don't last long at all. They last 2 laps in Australia, then they're done.
Yeah, like the tread depth itself is not very deep at all. So
no.
I ran them on the front of the 14 for a little while, and yeah, they're not very deep. So I would imagine on the Mustang they're just like gone. They had Wisefab, so they lasted a year.
So now, since it's coming to an end of FD talk, who do you reckon's going to win, championship wise? Who's your money on?
If Odie can keep it going the way he's been going, and he's been building over the years, he's going to be hard to beat, I think. And he also said that this year he's been able to employ a full-time mechanic for the race car.
Yeah.
So he has somebody
So more.
so he has somebody in the workshop all the time that can stop doing anything other than just putting hands on the 14. So that's, you know, shows you that he's pushing for it hard, and uh, he seems that car is probably in a lot of ways one of the most well balanced cars when it comes to where it is power wise, to the tire, to the weight, to the suspension, to the driver being so used to that car.
Yeah, well, he's definitely the most comfortable in the car. He's had it a long time. That car, like I think but he's had the most, like the longest car it's been in FD, like
Yeah,
consistency wise.
yeah, probably. But then he had the time um, in the Genesis, so
And the Genesis, yeah.
so that gave that car a bit of a break. But yeah, it'd be yeah in there now. He's probably been in that chassis, yeah, probably the longest of anybody, other than maybe some of the guys who jumped into 86s as soon as they came out. But I'm pretty sure he's been in S chassis for a long time anyway. So yeah, like him for me would be that one. But I would love to see Matt Field do, yeah,
Yeah.
get up the top and win it. That's so my well, that's way too much frenemies for anybody, but
It's a
but
shame they're not doing the series this year. Like
no,
the
they are.
YouTube series.
Yeah, but they're doing it
Okay.
as an
Instagram
Instagram
thing.
thing, so EG doesn't understand. I just
Is
couldn't.
that?
It's the first time I've
Is
ever
that?
worked out how to use Instagram TV.
Yeah. Yeah. The quality's good on it as
Instagram
well.
TV.
Yeah, there's like little like YouTubey
What
type
is
videos on
this?
Instagram.
They're only like
What?
3 minutes long, but
Yeah, because they're
they're
trying to do it
pretty
the
good
same day.
quality.
Yeah, and because they're doing it on the same day, so there's a big push to do same day. So my heart wants Matt Field to win, but currently in my head says yeah, Odie will start to really walk away as long as he doesn't have too many
Yeah.
dramas.
Pretty much
What
the same
what
as me then.
yeah, you're sort of thinking along the same lines.
Yeah, I think Matt Field's car hasn't come on stride yet. I think once Orlando comes around, I think that car will come on a lot better, and he will be very hard to beat
Yeah.
in that car. That's probably the most well developed car, maybe.
Yeah, and PBM's been like if you watch any of Matt Field stuff, PBM's been working hard on developing new parts for that car to make it better and better. And then I
Yeah.
also just think Forsberg is going to be like he's finding his mojo. So yeah, as long as he doesn't go and do anything stupid like put a VQ back in it, he's going to be, you know, he's been a champion and he will be a champion again. So what are you thinking, EG?
Odie looks really good. This is like, I think it's way too early. Because Odie was like on point the whole weekend, I thought. So if he keeps this up, he'll definitely win the championship. But yeah, I was thinking Chris Forsberg because he seems to be in a good car or like reliable car, and his runs have been pretty good. I think he'll actually get better because he'll be like, oh, this car actually works. I can just
Yeah,
More
more
push it a bit
confidence.
more. Yeah, and so I think he's a guy to keep an eye on. But generally, like those guys in the top 8, they're pretty strong. So I think by the next round, you probably have maybe things might change up a little bit, but be able to see a bit better where everyone is actually standing because the first round is almost like.
Just remember, EG, copy my
Just a
guesses.
tester.
This is what happened. This is what happened for World Time Attack Challenge. You were like, you and Steve were like, oh, Greg doesn't know drifting that well and blah blah blah, all this sort of stuff, and then boom, raped you all on the points when we went back and tallied what people did. So so
That was fun. We've got to do that again if
Yeah.
it happens next time.
yeah. So you just copy me again and just copy me this time, and then you might actually win.
No way. Nah.
You guys thought you had me, like you thought, oh, well, what's he talking about, blah blah blah. Nah, got nothing, boys. Should do it with Matt.
At least drive better than you.
We'll get Matt on it because I'm pretty sure a lot of his guesses would be similar to
Matt?
mine. So
For time attack, wouldn't he be competing though?
yeah,
That's the plan.
just because he's competing doesn't mean he
Yes.
can't take
Nah,
guesses
he
in the
can't
pools.
do that. Nah.
Yeah, then you said that
can't
when I was
do that.
spotting for him too.
Yeah, where I couldn't
Yeah,
hear you.
that's
That's probably good. See, that's why he didn't do that great because he couldn't hear
Yeah.
me.
Yeah, I couldn't hear
Yeah.
rain over the
no, he's
radio.
just being nice. He's being nice.
We'll talk about that more next week. All right. Well, so let's lock it in. We're going to speak to Matt again next week. EG will do a more Matt-focused poster, and we'll release that early.
Okay, alright.
And yeah, 2.5 weeks until next round of FD.
Is there anything on this weekend?
This weekend is that third round of SA or Drifting SA Summer Series. They're looking to try and live stream it. They're just making, Will Chamberlain said in the comments, they're just trying to make sure they've got a 4G connection out there, so keep an eye out for this weekend. Motegi Super Drift is on this weekend as well. There's 2 separate top 8 competitions, I think Friday and
Yeah.
Saturday. So that'll be a little bit later, so sort of more.
They run that at night. don't
Yeah,
they?
yeah. So it'd be like
Yeah.
sort of late morning in East Australia, which is sort
Yeah.
of a more convenient time. We have Figure 8 this weekend, so your favourite host of the Clutch Kick will be out there trying to run into some people. I don't have any lock mods on that car currently, but I saw the boys have done my dual caliper setup is all finished now, and they just did the plumbing for the lines, so they were ripping the handbrake in a straight line down the street, and it was locking up pretty good. So I've been sent pictures of videos of that. So come out and watch me, slay some doors. I think I'm going to dive bomb Flash. And yeah, I think that's all that's going on. If anybody who drives is interested, they've got trying to work out drivers for the Tita Invitational that Matt spoke about at the top of the show, and they're still looking for drivers interested in heading up
And
to.
they've got eight booked in so far.
They're looking for some interstate guys or good guys to go up there. I know Logan's still watching, so Logan, get yourself organised and go up to Darwin. You're sending your car's going up with Graham, right, on the GH
Yeah.
car?
Yeah, I can't pick it up in Melbourne. So I'm sure if people get organised, they can come get these cars picked up in Melbourne as well,
Yeah.
and then head up from there.
And then, yeah, I think that's all that's going on at this stage. And then I think it won't be too long, and then there'll be another round of Vic Drift. When's Tassie doesn't start up for a little while longer, right?
Meant to start in June.
Okay, so don't need to talk about that for a little while.
No.
But yeah, that's all at this stage. So yeah, keep an eye on. Mainly, yeah, for me, I'm interested to see how the next round of Summer Series goes, and see if the same guys end up the top, and then yeah, Motegi Super Drift will give us a little bit more of an indication if some of those guys who drive that from FD, either improve on what they did last weekend and look better, or sort of stay the same and show their consistency. So yeah, next week we're gonna have Matt back on again. We're gonna talk all things Matt.
Not rolling burnouts.
Not rolling burnouts. Just more crashing when he's about to win events
Yeah.
and doing stuff like that.
EG might be able to talk to us during the time.
No, this is about the right amount of talking that I normally do, actually. So it's all right. Greg's the journalist, not me. I'm just the guy that criticises people.
And then
That's fine. Mate.
And then, yeah, talk to Matt a little bit about his virtual drifting as well. He does less damage there.
I do more damage if actually realistic.
Yeah, but thank God it's not. So we will catch you guys next week. We'll catch Matt. Thank you for coming on tonight.
Thank you.
Oh, good. Anytime.
And
Anytime.
EG, thanks for always being beautiful, and hopefully you can get some better internet for next week so you don't break up so much.
Jesus. Nah, that's still months away.
We'll just go outside and do like an internet dance or something.
Yeah.
Okay.
Go take a laptop on your roof or something.
Just put a big metal rod out the window. Just pray for a lightning storm. All right. We'll catch you guys next week, and happy 34 to all you guys out there.